Today's video is going to be a little bit different. Today's video is going to be more of a celebration. Now, I have created 12 different Fakemon region videos, and today I'm going to go through them all, and I have created what I'm calling the Medals Fakemon Award. I've created a bunch of different categories, and I've gone through all of my regions. It took a very long time, and I have found the best Fakemon out of all the region videos that I have created. Now, of course, all of these videos can be found down in the description where I'll link the playlist that has all of them, and of course, massive credit to all of the artists which you can find in those videos as well. Of course, starting with the grass starter, and I have chosen Floratops. Now, Floratops is in the Equus region, and as you can see, it is a little baby dinosaur, which I think is very, very cute. Now, I didn't base my decision for this one on the final evolution. These are just on the base starters because I'm going to go through the final evolutions later, but I just think Floratops is very, very cute, and I do love dinosaurs, so it works out perfectly for me. The fire starter, I chose Pyacam from the Feral region. I think it's an awesome combination of a wolf, but still has Native American influences as well, which really fit the region. The red and the blue on the nose and on the little hair that comes off their head as well. And of course, the little fire tip on the end of the tail. I think it just works really nicely together. And then my water starter from the Etoni region, my most recent video, which was based on Germany, my starter is Wazino. I think this looks really, really cool. I think combining a rabbit with a wizard is really nice, and I just absolutely love that transparent blue hat that he has. Now, the final evolutions for our grass starter is different. This time I chose Dustmamot, which was from the Ivana region. It is like a giant woolly mammoth elephant thing, but what I really love the most is like the thorny elements on the tusks there. I think that is really, really cool. And you can see in the bottom it has the signature move of Ivory Whip, where those tusks are actually quite fluid, which is really cool. Our fire starter final evo, this was probably the hardest decision I make out of the entire video. There were so many good fire starter final evolutions, but I went with Blubbert from my Canadian region, the Newfoundland region. This one just looks phenomenal. Fire and Ghost works really well. It's a massive whale, but is covered in flames and smoke, and it's got like the skeleton on the outside as well. Just so many different elements that come together to make a really cool Pokemon. My water starter final evo is the fully evolved Wazino. It's Merlin. I had a really good look at all the water starter final evos, and I just think this one is really cool. I don't really like humanoid kind of Pokemon, but I don't know, this one just hits different. The hat, the robe, the staff, all of it is just really, really cool. All right, going into, of course, our Route 1 bird. And my favorite Route 1 bird, I chose Ravhern from the Northern region. Not so much because of the first evolution, but because of the final evolution, Crowskewer. I was looking at the entire line this time because every region has a Route 1 bird and it's always got an evolution. So I looked at the entire line. Crowskewer, I think, is really, really cool. Dark and ghost type. And it is based on ravens or crows. And in the Northern region, which is based on Scandinavia and the Nordic region, this just fits really, really well. So I think that looks really cool. Of course, we have Route 1 bird. We have to have a Route 1 bug as well, and every region has a Route 1 bug. This time I did base it on the first evolution. Spidel looks insane. I absolutely love this. This one is from the Hyrule region. So Spidel has got like a Duskull kind of skull on the back of it. But of course, as the spider gets bigger, we've still got that skull. So Skulltugeist looks really cool too. Before we get any further into Pokemon, I also looked at the professors. Most regions, not all, but most have a professor, and I went with our Steve Irwin professor, who's also the champion of the Straya region. I just think it works super, super well together. And you can see his team there is full of crocodiles and the starter Pokemon as well. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because I'm Aussie, but we have to have Steve Irwin in there, I think. Pika Clone is something that was found in every region as well. Sometimes they evolved and sometimes they don't. I did just look at the base starter. Kira is electric and fairy type. It's based off a Quoll, and I just love the starry night sky that creates some spots on the back of it. And obviously the whole evolution line is amazing, but I was just looking at Kira there. Our evolution, a lot did have evolutions. A lot of them had several evolutions, but the one that I chose as my favorite was Luftion from the Newfoundland region. Of course, it's a flying type. We can see it's got that massive hot air balloon and the clouds around it. Even its ears coming out like wings is a really nice touch as well. Now, the cutest Pokemon. Now, I tried not to just look at the baby Pokemon. There's a baby category later on. Cutest Pokemon I thought was Marshmallow from the Etoni region. I think this looks really cute. It's got those eyes and the big derpy kind of open mouth as well. The whole evolution line for this is really cool, so make sure you check out the Eternia region. We had cutest going into the creepiest, and we're going back to the Australia region because Drop Bear, I think, is very, very creepy. Those claws, the face especially, and the eyes. Looking at regional forms now, a lot of regions that I've covered have several Pokemon that are regional forms, so I actually had to choose more than one here. I chose two that really stood out for me. The first one in the Hyrule region is Yamask, and if you've ever played a Zelda game, you know Majora's Mask. Putting it in a Yamask just works so perfectly. And the other one I chose, again in the Australia region, was our regional Sableye. Very, very different look. Another very creepy kind of one, but covered in gemstones, and even just that it's on all fours definitely gives like an animalistic kind of vibe. Sometimes when we have a regional Pokemon, they have a brand new evolution, and my favorite one was Deforester. Obviously evolved from Timber, but in our Newfoundland, in our Canadian region, it is based on a lumberjack, and it's carrying those massive logs, and I think the axe on its head as well, and the whole look is very, very nice. Obviously different to our Conkeldurr that we would normally have. And the other regional evolution I chose was Phantasma from the Hyrule region. So this one was the evolution from our Hyrulean Ponytail, which is based off Epona, and then going into Phantasma, the massive sandy tail, the like skeleton design down its back, but then of course those massive horns and the skull on its head as well. Alright, here is the baby Pokemon that I spoke about earlier. I chose two again. First one was Babe Eye, which is from the Feral region. Now this one I wouldn't necessarily say is the cutest Pokemon, but I love the design. It almost makes it look like a bit of a plushie, and having like one gemstone almost makes it look like a little teddy bear that's lost an eye or something. So I think that's really cool. But this next one is, I think, very, very cute. Gafop in the Newfoundland region. Of course, it's a baby Smeagol, but it has got a fishing hook for a tail instead of like the little paintbrush. So I think that's really nice as well. Next is the fossil Pokemon, which is also a very difficult category. There are some sensational fossil Pokemon out there. I eventually went with Pup Hero from the Northern region, mainly because of its evolution. Pup Hero is good, but Grammarhorn, I think, is amazing. They're both based off the Woolly Rhino, and Grammarhorn has a massive sword-like horn on it that's just huge. Whole design, very, very nice. The gimmick Pokemon, so gimmick being like a Mega or a Dynamax or something like that. A few regions have got something very similar to Mega, but I went purely on the design, not on the actual gimmick itself. And the one I chose was from the Sundor region, which was our Dream Form Spiritomb. I think the big claws coming out just look really, really nice. And even like the little capsule that it's sort of emerging from as well. Really, really cool. Next is the Disguise Pokemon. So your Pokemon that tries to hide as a Pokeball. So like your Voltorbs or like your Fungus. Not all regions had one of these, but a few did. And the one I enjoyed the most was Korrake, which is from the Costa region. And Costa actually just recently tweeted out that Korrake is one of their favorite designs that they've created, and they really think they nailed it on the head. And I completely agree. The red, black, and white coloring, as it curls up together, it makes a Pokeball design. Even the shiny being like a Premier Ball as well. Next is the Pseudo Legendary, which is again very, very tough to choose, but I went with the Sundor region Crocqua. There's actually two Pseudo Legendaries in the Sundor region, both amazing, but I went with Crocqua. Next for the Legendaries, I had to choose a few Legendaries because of course every region has Legendary Pokemon, and they all have several, so there was a big pool for me to choose from, so I narrowed it down to a couple. First one I chose was Quetzal, which was from the Urubos region, and Quetzal actually has two forms, the stone form and the space form, and either of those on their own would be one of my favorites because I think they are both amazing, but the fact that it has two options is super, super cool. So Quetzal, very, very nice design there. The next one was Lycanium from the Newfoundland region, a massive grizzly bear, but what I love about it is it kind of gives a vibe of like the guardian of the forest. I think being completely covered in grass and moss and that big wreath around its head, but I also love the thorns around its wrists as well. I think the whole thing just works really well and gives off a really nice vibe. Next one I did was Regigigas from the Sundor region. I like this one because Regis is something that a few regions have done. I thought Regigigas looked amazing. Obviously our ghost type Reggie. We've got that Duskull skull that's covering it, but like the spiky skeleton bony parts around its arms and wrists as well look really, really nice. I really like Regigigas. A couple of regions also had an Ultra Beast, not just a Legendary, so I chose my favorite Ultra Beast. This was from the Northern region, which is Deathless Warwraith. Fits perfectly with like the Vikings kind of theme that it has. So the skeleton, but obviously with like the horns on it, but like the shield and the gravestones coming out of it. So just a lot of different themes that really fit the region, but also is a really interesting kind of look. I don't think anything like this would actually become a real Pokemon. It might be a bit too creepy with the skeletons. And of course, after the Legendaries, we have to go into the Mythical. And the Mythical mythical I chose was from the Ivana region, which is Nazuncha. I think with a mythical Pokemon, you don't want something that looks super strong. You really want that element of mystery to it. I think Nazuncha does that well. I think it also, like, the body shape is very similar to Mew, where it's got a little body and a really long tail with something on the end of the tail as well. Next, I do have some special mentions. I think I've got 6 special mentions. These are the ones that when I first saw them, I was like, oh, damn. Damn! Or it really fits the region really, really well, or ones that are really unique. The first one is Marjoriegus. This is actually what the Hyrulean Yamask that we saw earlier evolves into in our Hyrule region, of course, but those massive, like, tentacles coming out is very, very cool, and it fits really well for the Pokemon and also for the Zelda side of things as well. The second special mention was Valhalgon, which is from the Northern region. So having a Draka or a Viking longboat is, I think, a great idea for a Viking region, but having it sort of with a ghostly dragon kind of combination. So you've got a dragon head that is very common on the end of Viking longboats, but as you can see, like in the smoke or the fog, there's little ghostly faces in there. Like you can see like a haunted face, I think it is, and a spiritomb face, and those sort of like little Easter eggs in it really make it look really, really cool, and it just fits the Viking region. Next special mention I gave was Crocarnage. So this is actually one of the Pokemon that Professor Irwin had in our Australia region. One of my favorites of the whole region. It's actually dragon and fighting type, and that tail you can see has almost like a little claw on the end of it, but I also like the camouflage kind of design on it. I just think there's lots of different elements that all work really well together, and just Crocarnage is a really cool name. The next special mention is Margold, that is in the Sundor region. It's based off the Australian Gold Rush, and when I first saw this, I just had to stop what I was doing because I just thought that whole combination was so good. It looks like a very rich individual with his top hat and monocle, but the gemstone tie as well, but one of his arms is a pickaxe. It just all ties in to the Australian region so well. Next special mention was Cacopalm, which is from the Adlo region. Unfortunately, I haven't mentioned the Adlo region today. This is the first time, but there are so many good designs in the Adlo region that a lot of seconds or thirds would have gone to Pokemon in this region. The next special mention is Kodragoon from the Newfoundland region, and since I made a TikTok about this Pokemon, I learned about the Cobra Chicken, which is apparently just a very angry goose. As an Australian, I had no idea. I've never heard of that before. I just knew that goose were very aggressive and very common in Canada. Very toothy kind of goose with that big like skull image on its chest as well, but it's a part dragon type, and just I think it was an insane looking Pokemon. I think a lot of Canadians appreciated this one too. And then the next special mention for my latest video is the Etonian Gyarados. Another one where as soon as I saw it, I just had to stop and just admire it. Obviously coming from Etonian Magikarp, but the Gyarados just looks insane. I absolutely love that skull mask over its face. And the next special mention is from the Equus region, which is Dashboard. So I thought this one was really interesting because it has like the whole rainbow spectrum of colors, but then is on like a little sausage dog as well. And as you can see, it's actually a celestial and electric type. So there was a new typing. There was 2 new typings actually in the Equus region. So I recommend you check out that video and check out the sound typing as well. But I hope you guys liked my presentations today. As always, make sure you subscribe. Actually, it's more down here. Make sure you subscribe for more Pokemon videos and Fakemon videos, of course, and check out the regions if you've missed any. Thanks, guys.